How was it, guys? They're out. I had to pause it. I had to pause it. I had to pause it. They're out. Okay, let me do a proper intro. They're out. Oh my gosh. I mean, let's just keep it 100. We didn't play that well, but I don't care because they're out. They got knocked out. They crashed out. It's amazing. How are you guys feeling? I'm going to start putting your comments up on the screen. Let's laugh at Spurs. Let's just take a couple minutes just to laugh at them. Okay, well, hold on. Okay, yeah. We're all laughing. She knows you said Tottenham would win this competition, so wrong, and I love it. I was wrong. I actually said that they were favorites. I didn't say that they would win. I actually said that we would win. Doesn't matter because they're out. I think we're all feeling like Wolfgang right now, laughing hard at Spurs. I mean, as if the North London derby couldn't have gotten any better. Like, first we beat them. Now they crash out of the Europa League. Like, it's insane. I love it. Football is great. The history of Tottenham. Exactly. Philosinac says, yes, I think Elliot's draw prediction did it for us. He's a walking jinx. I mean, you know what? Wow. I mean, I thought that just because of how desperate they were and how badly Jose Mourinho obviously needs a trophy, that made them, you know, strong contenders for the competition. But I mean, wow, they really took a crap on this, didn't they? Spurs doing Spurs things. Exactly. So we will laugh at Spurs more, but let's just talk a little bit about us. I think obviously this is a game that should have been a walk in the park, and we should have easily controlled. I don't think Olympiacos is a good team, but ultimately I think the team selection, although should have been good enough to control the game, just didn't. And I think this was a good benchmark or a good determining game on whether certain players are going to be good enough for us in the future. Before the game, Elliot said on his match preview that this was going to be a big game for Ceballos and his and whether or not, like, to determine whether or not we should make him permanent. And I know that he's only going to cost about 22 million. Real Madrid is going to be looking to raise funds so that they can, you know, make changes to their squad. And ultimately he's not a bad player. But I think today kind of showed that it's not really about him being a good player or not, because he is a good player. I think it's just about the system and the fact that I think he just doesn't fit us, you know, and we need more athletes in the middle of the field so we can control the game. El Neni and Dani Ceballos were unable to control that game. And I know people will look at Xhaka, but I think he showed in the past that he can be a part of a dominating midfield, whereas Dani and El Neni seem to, like, the level of the midfield drops so much when they're in there, and you could never play them two together. Like, it just doesn't work. So for me, I think that this should be the last time that we discuss whether or not we should make Dani Ceballos a permanent signing. I think he's more suitable for La Liga or Serie A or something like that. But, you know, the way that we're trying to play fast in transition, 1-2 touch, just doesn't suit him. Even though he's a good footballer, he just does not have the ability to work quickly. You know, and I think he got caught on the ball a lot. He looked really slow for somebody who didn't even play in the last game. He looked leggy, which is strange. And I just don't think he ever caught up to the way that we wanted to play. So it's, if we can't play you in the 10 position and we don't trust you in the double pivot, then where does he play? And I think that we could do much better in terms of maybe if we were going to spend 22 million on a player to be a rotational option for Xhaka and Thomas Partey, I think we can do better than Dani Ceballos. We need to find somebody that really fits, what we're trying to accomplish. I'd spoken about Sanderberg on another podcast, and I know that, I'm not completely sold on him, but I'd almost rather us go after him versus Dani Ceballos because of the physical profile and his ability to transition, and to progress the ball without having to take 5,000 touches. So I think with Dani, it's not really a question of whether he's a good player or not. It's just, does he fit us in this transitional period? And I just think that spending 22 million on a player like him is not worth it. We need to move away from these slow, too many touch type players. Like, it just doesn't work. 1-2 touch works well for us. Let's get into some of your comments. Wolfgang says, Dani didn't do much, did he? He didn't. And when he did get on the ball, he was poor, and I just think that you could see as soon as we put in Thomas Partey and Odegaard, we immediately grabbed a hold of that game. Quality levels, and it's night and day, really. And I think that this also, I'm personally not somebody who feels like Elneny should get any sort of extension. I don't care if he doesn't have an ego. I don't really care that he works hard. I think the level drops off so much when he's there that it's just, why would we give him another contract? I think it's moving backwards. We need to move away from these two players and fill in those squad positions with either young, talent from the academy, or spend wisely on players that actually fit what we're trying to do. Okay. Dev says Ceballos showed some glimpses, but he's just not good enough. Exactly. And I think the glimpses really come from the fact that he is a good technical player, but the other things are just not there. The physicality, the athleticism, those are things that you need in the midfield. It's not like La Liga where, if you dominate the ball, it is what it is. Like, we need to be able to control the midfield. And with Thomas and Xhaka and Odegaard, we're able to do that. With Elneny and Ceballos, it's a completely different game. Velocinex says the whole midfield was sloppy today, even Partey when he came on. Odegaard has some good impact though. I think, even though Thomas was sloppy for a couple of touches, he just gives us the ability to control the midfield and be decent in transition. Our transitional play was so much better once they came on. And I think that wasn't just due to Odegaard. I think it was due to Thomas Partey too. So there are things that players bring to the table that aren't necessarily like, it's not what they do on the ball. It's their presence alone. When you have better players on the field, it almost makes the other team not even want to play. And I think that, Thomas will get better over time. But I mean, if you had any question of why we need Thomas Partey and Odegaard in this team, I think they answered it today. We cannot control the midfield without them. I apologize, but I don't know how to pronounce your name. I really don't want to butcher it, but thank you for your comment. And you say, yes, we should not buy him. I don't think so either. I just don't think it's worth it. Alexander G says, move on from Dani this summer didn't work. Spend the money on Martin Odegaard. Exactly. And if we only have the opportunity to make one big purchase this summer, I think it has to be Odegaard. Let me know what you guys think. If Odegaard is the position or the player that you would spend the money on, because I just think Odegaard, Thomas Partey, and Xhaka, although it may not be the finished product of what we actually want long-term for the midfield, some people don't really rate Xhaka and may think that we could upgrade on him, but that is a midfield that can get into the top 6, at least for me. So I think we need to go ahead and solidify that and then worry about the squad depth, later on. Belvishwan says Spurs are bottlers. Yes, they are. This has been a great day. Renee Black says Dani blew it today. He really did. I mean, this was a good indicator. Like it really made it obvious that we need to move on from him. I mean, he needs to find a forever home somewhere else. Arsenal is just not going to be that place for him. 2-0 up. Spurs are shit. Yes, they are. Gunnar Jab says, we the Martinelli believers are proven right. So yes, Martinelli did bring some energy. You know, he came on and immediately Bog got sent off because he, you know, elbowed him in the face, and he had a good, you know, cross that went into Aubameyang that he bottled. Proven right in what way? You know, I think it's so the Arteta leaving Martinelli out is a travesty thing, is really overblown for me. And I think this was a good game for him to come in. He looked good. He looked sharp. But I don't necessarily feel like this was like a win for the Martinelli people and a loss for the Arteta out. Like, I think that's a little far, you know, for me to reach. Good player, but does not fit us. Exactly. That's the exact, you know, that is it. He's a good player, but he just doesn't fit us, period. You know? Yo-Yo says Chiellini told the world what all Arsenal fans knew. Exactly. Ian Rogers says Abba was 1 out of 10 tonight. New striker needed. Yeah, I think we can talk about it a little now, but I am going to be doing a show next week during the international break about the striker situation and how we can build up our front four and things like that in the summer, you know, just because it's such a big topic of conversation. But I think just for the sake of, you know, talking about it now, I think it's time to kind of start having that conversation about what does the center forward for Arsenal really look like moving forward. I think in certain circumstances, when everything is going right, the people right behind Aubameyang are right, the players that he's playing against are right, you know, the weather is right, you know, things like that. Aubameyang is good for us. But I think if one of those things is off, you know, he has a bad touch early, he misses an early chance, you know, there's not the right three behind him, it's not perfect, you know, it's 33 degrees instead of 35 degrees or something like that. He just doesn't do it, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we're just seeing that we might need something different. There's nothing wrong with our, you know, Arsenal with a new coach and a new system evolving past a certain player that was, you know, important for us in the past. But, you know, depending on what the funds look like this summer, I would like to see us replace Lacazette / Nketiah. The both of them, I would like to see them to move out, and for us to identify a new striker to come in so that it's Aubameyang, this striker, and Martinelli, and then Aubameyang leaves, you know, eventually. I just think that he limits us. I think Lacazette limits us, he limits us, Eddie limits us, and we need a modern striker that can do more than one thing. You know, ideally, I think we need a combination of Aubameyang's clinical finishing and Lacazette's build-up play and kind of his want to be in the mix, you know, but we also need somebody who's taller and stronger and likes to get on the end of crosses. I mean, how many assists do you guys think that Tierney would have if we had a striker that actually liked to, you know, head the ball, you know? So I think it is a conversation that needs to be had. And I wouldn't be upset if a new striker came in this summer. Wolfgang Grenier says, but can we afford upgrades on Ceballos and Mo? That's really the question, you know, but I think Ceballos is not really in that conversation because he's not even our player, you know, so we could just let him go. I just don't think we should. If we have 22 million to spend, I would rather us spend it on somebody else, you know, but in regards to El Neni, you know, he could get a new contract, but I think I'd almost rather see us look in the academy and promote somebody, you know, because that's beneficial to us as well. You know, we can see is this player good enough to play for Arsenal long term? Can he just fill in as a squad, you know, a squad person or a squad, fill in a squad position? And then even if people see that player and think he's good, we can sell them. If nobody sees them, nobody will buy them. So I think a lot of decisions need to be made in terms of the midfield this summer. I think we deserve better than Elneny and Ceballos, but whether or not we can afford better than that is yet to be seen. Belvishwan says, today we shall call this day Bottlers Day. Spurs, exactly. Ian Rogers says, Martinelli is training as a forward. Exactly. We've seen that, there's been training videos that have come out of Martinelli training separately from the rest of the team as a center forward. I think that's a transition that the club is going to make in the next couple of months for Martinelli, which may be a reason why he's not getting as much playing time. But I think having Martinelli come in as a center forward and maybe bringing somebody else in would make a lot of sense. I think a lot of what we do in the summer is going to be determined on whether or not we get European football. Because quite frankly, we don't need 3 strikers, in my opinion, central forwards if we're not in Europe. Why would we need extra? So a lot will depend on whether or not we make European football because of the financials and, how much squad depth do we need if we're only in, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So, a lot to be determined, but I think Martinelli as a center forward is what I'd like to see him as. I think he's a center forward. What do you guys think? Do you think he's a center forward or do you like him out wide? Ian Rogers says Bissouma would be the same value as Ceballos. Not necessarily. I think Brighton bought Bissouma from Lille for about 20-something million. So they're going to want to make a profit on that. So I would actually think that Brighton might want to sell him for closer to 40, between 35 and 40. And if that's the case, we might want to look elsewhere. There's, Anguissa off of Fulham. If they get relegated, we could probably get him for 20. We can look at Lille and get Samare. He's very similar, in athleticism and things like that. He's also younger. We could probably get him for about 25 million because, France is struggling financially. But in terms of Bissouma, I really think that they're going to be asking for 35 to 40 so that they can make a profit because they did purchase him, for around 20. The Cowboy says, shut the door behind you, Spurs. Exactly. Goodbye. I mean, it's just wonderful. I mean, at the beginning of the week, or not the beginning of the week, but before the North London Derby, commentary was very pro Spurs and anti Arsenal, how good they were, how Kane and Bale and Son, oh, amazing, wow, wow, wow. Like Jose Mourinho, he's brilliant, things like that. They lose the North London Derby, make all types of excuses about why, we didn't deserve to win that game. Then they go out in the Europa League against Dinamo Zagreb, so I think spend less time talking about how good they are and actually look around at the Premier League and look at coaches and teams that are actually doing good things. They've done absolutely nothing but have the English captain, and a couple of other decent players on their team and a has-been in Bale. It's just all built around the fact that they have these names that supposedly should be good, but they're in theory and in reality, they're not, so I think, this has been a horrific week for Tottenham Hotspur, and I am here for it. Yo-Yo says team would have improved with Cedric starting. He makes better runs and provides width. With Heki, the play is often congested. I really just don't understand why Arteta continuously plays Pepe and Bellerin together. It doesn't work. They don't mix. It's something about the way Bellerin underlaps and Pepe is meant to stay out wide when that he wants to come inside as well. We don't have any width on that side. We can't create overloads on that side. And Bellerin plays like a striker when he plays in that position. And it's really strange. It doesn't make sense. And for me, Arteta, I understand that he comes from the school of Pep and they're trying to be so, innovative and progressive and things like that. But the players have to have the technical quality, the ability, the skill sets to be able to pull those types of roles off. Bellerin is not Cancelo. You can use him in the same way, but you're not going to get the same result because the player is not the same. He's not as good as Cancelo. So I think Bellerin suffers from being asked to do things that are outside of his skill set. And sometimes he does it okay, sometimes he doesn't. Today he stunk up the place, so I don't know. Alexander G says, let's talk about Abba and missing 2 sitters. We expect more from the captain on such a key game. I mean, are we really surprised that Aubameyang had a game like this? I mean, I was hopeful that he would, use this game to get a couple under his belt, reset after all the drama about being late and being dropped for the North London Derby. But am I shocked that he had a game like this? No. He's been off all season. He missed one and then just continued to miss. Again, on the channel, we're going to be doing something during international break, talking about the striker situation and how to move forward, because it's just unfortunate that we strapped him down to a huge contract that makes it kind of necessary for the club to try to make it work. But I think in hindsight, we can maybe learn a lesson from this, that, you can't just give players contracts based on what they did. You have to give them contracts based on what you think they can do for you in the future. And Aubameyang, I hate to say it, but he's having an Ozil type moment where he just doesn't seem as interested in what we're doing, versus last season when he was clearly playing for a move, so I digress, but he stunk up the place as well. Yo-Yo says Danny's best performances were in front of a back 5. He's limited. He is limited. I just don't think this is the system, the league, anything for him. I think the direction that we're going in, he just doesn't fit, so hopefully we're not looking to make him permanent. That's what I'm hoping. Renee says Arteta is transitioning Martinelli to a 9. Exactly, he is. It is the same first name as the name of former Chelsea striker Eidur Gudjohnsen, if you remember him. Yes, I do. The Cowboy says, you can clearly see from tonight's team performance that players being sold is just as important as buying correctly. That's very true. I agree. Let's see. Deb says, we really should have scored 4 or 5 goals tonight. Awful finishing. Forwards need to do more finishing drills in training. Yeah, they need to concentrate. We've had this conversation before on my channel specifically, that I think individual errors, obviously because they're usually closer to our goal, are punished and talked about more harshly than players missing big chances. But I want to say our XG today was, let me check it, because I did post about it. Give me 1 second. If you guys know the XG, you can just put it in the chat. Our XG today was 2.58. That's pretty good. And Olympiacos was 0.71. So the myth about not creating chances is a joke. We do create chances, we just don't finish. And the last thing we want to do is become Brighton. Brighton is a good example of a team that should be a lot higher than what they are, but because of their poor finishing, they're sitting in the relegation zone. So, missing chances is just as egregious as individual errors or defensive errors in the back. It's just we don't look at it that way, because it's like the defenders get so much more stick, or whoever makes that individual error or defensive error. So for me, I'm looking at players like Pepe, who missed a sitter today, Aubameyang, who missed 2 really good chances today, and even Odegaard, who missed a really good chance, that you guys have to finish your dinner. If Aubameyang finishes that very first chance that he has, makes it 1-0, puts it out of Olympiacos's, grasp, then we're not so stressed out about it. And then players like Martinelli, or even maybe Reece Nelson, players like that, can get out there on the field and get some minutes, but they suffer when we don't take care of business. And then you have players like Tierney and players that are clearly tired that can't take a rest because, we can't finish our dinner early. So it's becoming an issue. Our issue before was that we couldn't defend, then Arteta fixed that. Then, we couldn't create chances. Now we fixed that. Now we can't finish chances. Now we need to fix that. Ooh, okay. Jorn, tell me if I pronounced that correctly. Is it Jorn? It's definitely Odegaard as top priority. He looks perfect. Sanderberg is maybe a bit slow, but quite interesting. Yeah. Are you by chance Norwegian at all? Like, if you are, let me know. Tell me a little bit more about Sanderberger if you know anything about him, because we're clearly linked with him. I think he's the right age profile, the right price, Premier League proven player that we can pick off of a team that's clearly getting relegated. But my issue is that I can't pinpoint whether he would be an upgrade on Granit Xhaka or somebody that would make us better rather than just somebody who just keeps us the same, if that makes sense. Bulgarian Gunnar says, we were wank. Pardon my French. Also, it's the history of the Tottenham. Exactly. Yo-Yo says, before the inclusions of Odegaard, ESR, Arteta chose to play Auba and Willian through poor form over the likes of Laka and Pepe. Arsenal are 10th for that reason, in my opinion. I don't think so. I think we wouldn't be in 10th if we had won 2 more games, and that could be chalked up to individual errors made by players that are just had brain farts, or that could come down to, you know, unfortunate referee decisions. It can come down to us not finishing our chances. I mean, we're talking about the difference between 10th and 6th is like 6 points, which is two losses, you know, so it could be a multitude of things. But I think most coaches play their better players or their experienced players through poor form, because, I mean, let's just be real. Aubameyang was our best player last season, so why wouldn't you give him the benefit of the doubt and try to play him through his poor form? You know, it didn't work, and then Arteta had to change things up. But I think it's a little bit harsh to say that it's literally just on that specific thing when we know that we've lost games due to different things. You know, so I think it's just a combination of us just not being where we need to be as a team, which isn't just solely based on Arteta, because he's not the one who built this team. You know, this team is a combination of Wenger players, Emery players, and Arteta players. We're 10th because the league got better and we didn't improve enough. Our senior players were crap. We were trying to transition into a new system, which takes time. And, you know, some individual errors, some lack of finishing, things like that. But I do understand what you're trying to say, that Arteta, because he didn't put Odegaard or didn't have a 10, or, you know, didn't have ESR before in the squad and all that kind of stuff. But realistically, I just think we were in those 8 games, the teams that he was putting out there were not so bad that they should have been losing the way that they were. You know, look at the way that they're playing now. Aslan Khan says, hello, Jess and chat. How are we feeling? I'm personally feeling good. You know, I couldn't be better. You know, I mean, who doesn't love to watch Tottenham do Tottenham things? Jordan says, someone like Van Persie up top. That would be nice. That would be nice without the snake personality. Let's see. Ian Rogers asks, who are favorites to win Europa? I think we are. I think we are. We should be, you know, so I would say us. Jordan says Martinelli is a good number 9 in a couple years, needs more playing time. Yeah, I do agree with that. He needs some more experience and he needs to have some more playing time, and I think he'll get it next season for sure. Antonio Rosario says Bellerin and Pepe are both protagonists. You guys, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to the channel before you leave. We're still going to keep going, but just don't forget. I appreciate those things very much, and it would be really nice if you guys could like this video for me and subscribe to the channel. During international break, I'm going to be doing content or creating content every single day, probably multiple times a day. I'm thinking about doing a call-in show. I've done it before where I give you guys the link and you guys can come on with me and we can talk about things. I'm going to be doing a collaboration with Same Old Arsenal. So the guys from Same Old Arsenal will be on here with me too. And hopefully I have a really special guest coming on. He's been on here before. You guys loved him. So hopefully I can nail him down. And also Kevin Campbell will be on. So I have a lot of good things coming. So make sure that you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's see. Exactly. The scum are out of Europa. Berg is linked to LFC. Is he? Is he really? That's interesting. Barry says Michael Elise at Reading could move back to party. Such a talent. All top clubs looking at him. So maybe I should do like a scouting thing on him because to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of him, but I've heard a lot about him. So maybe I'll go back and look at him. And also, Barry, I wanted to let you know that me and Sophie will be getting together. Sophie from the Highbury squad will be getting together to do a scouting video on the MLS so we can look at players that might be good for Arsenal to recruit in the future per your request. So that will be coming out in April before the MLS season starts. Our front four versus West Ham. So I think with West Ham, we have to remember that a Moyes team is always super, super, super hard to break down. They're very organized. So I think this is really going to be a game for picking the lock and being really, secure defensively as well because they're going to be good on the break. So I think this might be a game for Odegaard, Saka if he's fit, maybe Willian. I don't know. It's going to be one of those games where we're going to be trying to pick the lock and they're going to be trying to beat us off on the counter, so yeah, but I think I would probably do like an Odegaard, Saka if he's fit. Now looking at Aubameyang, I wouldn't want him to start, but I feel like he will. And then maybe Willian on the left or ESR on the left, something like that. Thank you. I appreciate that, Danny. Thank you. You guys want to do some questions? You guys go ahead and throw questions in the chat and I'll go ahead and answer them, make sure they're appropriate. And I know that it's a question by putting a Q or something in front of it, so it's obvious. But yeah, let's do some questions. Ian Rogers says, Odegaard, ESR, Pepe, Laka for you for against West Ham. I mean, yes. I mean, I think Laka does a better job than people give him credit for. I just think Arteta is trying to make sure that Aubameyang keep scoring and stuff like that. So I would expect to see him against West Ham. Yo-Yo asks, how different was today's second leg to last season's second leg against Olympiacos? Well, I'm going to be honest. That game was probably the game that changed how I felt about this team and the mentality for sure. I've never seen a team capitulate like that before. And I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan, been an Arsenal fan for a while, but that really hurt me. Like, I remember throwing my phone against the concrete. Like, I was so upset. Like, I think the difference was because we were so far ahead in this leg that there wasn't as much nervousness. And even though we did make it more interesting than we should have, well, first of all, let me just say this, that we have more quality than we did last season. Last season, the team just wasn't as good, in my opinion. I think we were still playing with like Guendouzi, Torreira, Ceballos, in the midfield. I remember David Luiz played, Socrates played in that game as well. I think at like right back, maybe. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say Mustafi was in, and then he got injured or something. Saka may have been at left back at that point. Like, it was a very different team. Martinelli came off of the bench in an extra time. And when Aubameyang scored his goal and we celebrated the way that we did because we thought that the game was over, I think we lost concentration. And then, of course, Leno and David Luiz had some brain fart in the back, and we gave up the game. So I think basically it comes down to we have more quality. We took care of them in the first leg. We pretty much put it out of their reach. Last season, we didn't do that. We only had 1-0 up. I think not having fans helps as well. I just think I'm very interested to see how this team copes with fans coming back in the stands, because I remember the Emirates being it felt negative from the fans during that second leg because the nervousness was really there. And I think the team is just overall just better. We play better football, so yeah, I think the difference, quality, confidence, taking care of them in the first leg. Olympiacos wasn't any better this season than they were last season. So, you know, let's see. Why not? Sentiment FC says, how long you think till Martinelli, Pepe next start? Pepe will start soon. I'm not worried about him. Martinelli, he may not start for the rest of the season. And I think it's just a narrative that's being it's just overblown to me. I don't understand the Martinelli thing. I really don't. Sorry. Alexander G asks, who do we want to see in the next round? Villarreal. Time to get geeked up for the quarterfinal draw tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. West Coast time. Let's see. Who do we want tomorrow in the next round? The winner of Granada and Mold. Who was it? Was it Granada? I would take Granada. I wouldn't mind getting Villarreal. To be honest, I wouldn't be too afraid of that. Don't want Man United. Don't want AC Milan. So I would say I would take like Villarreal, Granada. Those would be my picks. I don't even really want to see Rangers because I don't know enough about them. I know that they're playing well, but I don't know enough about them to know if I should want them or not. So I'm going to just say no. Who do you guys want in the next round? Let me know. Barry says Olympiacos are actually weaker this year. So that's interesting because I was watching a stream before the first leg where there were Olympiacos fans that were on with Arsenal fans, and they were saying that they're actually better. So that's odd, so I think that they were more or less the same, to be honest. Rangers are losing, thankfully. Yeah. Yummy Fash says, will you be bringing Vice on at some point? Would be nice. Who's Vice? Who's that? Is that Clive? Vice? Who's Vice? Jordan says, yes, Norwegian, pronounced Jørn. Okay. I like Sanderberg, but I'm not sure how quick he will be, both regarding passing and running, and I think pace is important, so not El Neni, I'm afraid. I would not give El Neni another contract. I don't care if he doesn't have an ego and he works hard and he wants. Of course, he would take a contract at Arsenal if he got one. Where else is he going to go? I just think that we need to kind of move on from these players. It's unfortunate because we're financially probably in a position where we can't move on from them as quickly as we want to, but I just don't see a point in El Neni. I think he drops down. The level drops so much when he's out there to me. Aslan says, big moves, Jess. Good to hear. Work rate strong. Yeah, I'm trying, you guys. And I'm always open to suggestions. If there's somebody specific that you'd like to see on the streams or whatever, there's something I could do to make it easier for you guys to enjoy my streams, let me know. I'm always up for, constructive criticism. Let's see. Jørn says we should at least approach West Ham as a good team, and the best attacking line should include ESR, Odegaard, Saka with Partey and Xhaka. Yeah, I agree. I think West Ham is going to be a really tough game, tougher than Spurs. I think they're better than Spurs. Obviously, the league table says that, but I think just on form and just the way that they're playing, they're a pretty good team. So I think it's going to be a really tough game for us, but I think it's going to be close, so I'd like to see a really strong team against them. Yeah, you meant Clive. I thought you meant Clive. I'm trying to get Clive on. He's really busy. Obviously, he's super popular, and a lot of people want him on. So I think I'm on some sort of waiting list at this point. So I'll let you guys know when I can get him on. Yo-Yo says, Ajax still unconvinced by Arteta, so would like to see him against a highly rated coach. I mean, you haven't seen him against a highly rated coach? Pep, he beat him. He's beaten Pep, Brendan Rodgers, Klopp, Ole. He's, give or take, maybe not so great of a coach. He's been, Bielsa. He's beaten a lot of really good coaches. So, yeah, I understand being unconvinced, by him, but he has played beat some highly rated coaches, including Jose. somebody who before the North London Derby was clearly like way more rated than Arteta. They were saying that he was a novice and, just just almost like he was stupid or something. It was just so rude. The commentary was terrible. Dev says, what do I think about Guendouzi? Do I think he would be a good fit if he resolves his issues with Arteta? Well, let's start with the end of your question there. He's not going to resolve his issues with Arteta. The interview that he did the other day said that he doesn't think that he has a bad boy attitude or a bad boy persona or something like that because he's just playing hard. To me, that smacks of just, lack of self-awareness, and he doesn't take accountability. You have a bad attitude. 4 coaches have said that you've had a bad attitude, so you do. So I don't think he'll be resolving his issues with Arteta. I think Arteta is pretty much done with him. And if I'm completely honest, in my opinion, I don't think Guendouzi is that good. I don't think he's any better than Xhaka. And right now we're talking about, improving the squad. I don't think Guendouzi improves us. And I don't think he's improved personally in his game. I don't think he's improved since he's left Arsenal. So Guendouzi is somebody that I'd like to see sold. I think he only has 2 years left on his deal or something like that. It's time to make a decision on him. And I think Arteta already kind of made his decision on Guendouzi earlier. Rohit says, is Ceballos done after the season? I think he is too inconsistent. He should be. I mean, based on this game, I think we can kind of conclude that maybe he's just not the right fit. Good player, not right for us. I think Yo-Yo said that before. Yo-Yo said, El Neni is the only one comfortable at receiving the ball off the keeper under pressure. No, I don't think so. I think Xhaka is comfortable. There's a difference between comfortable and, making a mistake every once in a while. And I think, yes, just because he's the most comfortable, does that mean that we actually want him receiving the ball? I mean, what does he do with it once he gets it? So it's just, I get what you're saying, but I think Xhaka is comfortable receiving the ball. I think he just made a mistake in that one game. Danny was put under immense pressure by Leno. That was more Leno's fault than Danny. And I think Thomas is also comfortable receiving the ball under pressure. It's just sometimes, the balls that we put into the players are just not good. So I don't really agree. Question, why are not keen to see Martinelli, and his value has dropped 50 million since Emery? Why am I not keen to see Martinelli? It's not that I'm not keen to see Martinelli. It's just I think that he'll get his chance soon. And I think Arteta already said that. He's 19 years old, coming from the 4th tier of Brazilian football. We were playing a completely different system last season than we're playing this season. He needs to improve tactically and positionally. He's coming off of a horrific injury that usually takes about 2 years to get physically right from. And we're trying to move him from left wing to center forward. I'm not particularly worried about it. I'm not worried about his value because I don't think we're looking to sell him anytime soon. And I just don't see the uproar. It just doesn't, I don't see it. That it's just personal. It's a personal thing with me, but I do understand why people are anxious about it because they like Martinelli. And I think they want to make sure that Arteta rates him because they're afraid that he doesn't. Yemi says, West Ham will actually try to come out, play, which is better for us. We kind of do better against teams that try to play rather than sit back in a low block. So I'm very optimistic. What makes you say that they'll come out and play? I think Moyes is smart enough to know that it's actually better to not come out and play us. So I actually disagree, just that I think I do agree with what you're saying, that we do play better against teams that come out and try to play us. But I think Moyes is too smart to come out and try to play us when everybody knows that it's harder for us to break down low blocks. Aslan says, would I sign on a permanent contract Ceballos or Odegaard? What's an acceptable price? Oh, Odegaard for sure. And I think 35 million will get Odegaard done. Yes, I like the 4-2-4 a lot, and I will be copying something from that. I do like it a lot. Velveschwan, I'm not even going to read that. I'm not even going to read that out loud. I'm not even going to read that out loud. Is Manchester United winning, you guys? Let me know. And I see, did Pogba score? Is Pogba out there? Aslan says, if you could only sell one or two to reinvest into the squad, Bellerin or Xhaka. One of the two. Oh, I'd sell Bellerin. I think we need a new right back more than we need a replacement in Xhaka. So I think Bellerin is he's starting to catch my eye a lot more than he did before as somebody that might need to be moved on. He's not my personal fave, like my type of right back, to be honest. If I had to choose the perfect right back, he would probably be nothing like Hector Bellerin. So that probably plays into it. I do have a bias. But I think on form, I'd rather keep Xhaka and sell Bellerin to reinvest. Velveschwan says, Moyes tried playing a low block and hasn't gotten a result out of it. Interesting. Very interesting. We will see. You guys are saying 1-0 up to Man United. That's so annoying. Yo-Yo said Pogba came on and reminded the Italians what time it is. So annoying. Philosinac says, would you give Luiz one more year right now or a new right-footed center back or all in for Saliba? I think we give David Luiz a 1-year extension and we bring Saliba back. That's what I would do to make the transition for Saliba a lot easier. And so when you guys talk about anxiety about Martinelli, I have more anxiety about Saliba because he's out on loan. And personally, I want to see him integrated into the side next season because I think he's so good. So my answer to that would be give Luiz one more year and bring Saliba back and have David Luiz, Saliba, Holding, Marie, and Gabriel. All right, you guys, we're going to end it here so that we can watch the rest of the game and, that kind of stuff and just chill out for the rest of the day. You guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting with me after our game and liking the content and subscribing to the channel. I will see you guys on the next one. Tomorrow, I'll be doing a post-match for this game and a preview for the West Ham game with DJ Harry. I think at 6 p.m. UK time. So look out for that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. Wait, let me make sure I do this right. Hold on. So unprofessional. Bye, guys.